I'm just going to say it straight. No sugarcoating, no diplomatic dancing around the issue. After my last video about why tourists visit the Philippines once and never return, my comment section exploded. Over 600 comments, and you know what almost every single one said? Just go to Thailand. Thailand is better. Move to Bangkok and stop complaining. Here's what those comments don't know. I've been to Thailand, earlier this year actually, spent real time there, experienced both countries within the same season, and what I discovered challenged everything I thought I knew about this debate. Because the answer to is Thailand actually better isn't what you think it is, and by the end of this video you might realize you've been asking the wrong question entirely. This comes from real experience, conversations with expats who've planted roots in both places for years, and the uncomfortable truth that most travel creators avoid because it doesn't fit anybody's narrative. So if you came here expecting me to simply crown Thailand the winner and move on, you're in for something different. This isn't about picking a winner, this is about which country will drain your soul, and which one will give you peace of mind. Let me start with something that sounds simple but actually shapes everything that follows. The airport experience. Because this is where the comparison begins, and honestly where most travellers have already made up their minds before they even reach their hotel. You land in Bangkok, Suvarnabhumi Airport, modern, immaculate. Immigration moves with purpose. You walk through, show your passport, get stamped. 10 minutes on a good day, maybe 20 when it's packed. You follow the signs to the train. They're clear. English and Thai. Pictures for those who read neither. You tap your card. The train glides in on schedule. Air-conditioned. Quiet. No shoving. No confusion. 30 minutes later, you're downtown. You spent maybe 50 baht, that's $1.50. Now picture Manila. You touch down at NAIA. The moment you step into that terminal, something shifts. The heat wraps around you. The humidity. The noise hits different. Immigration lines stretch through the building like a maze designed by someone who hates efficiency. People cutting. No visible order. You finally push through. You walk outside. A wall of taxi drivers. All of them moving toward you. Sir, taxi sir. Special price sir. You already know you're about to overpay. You know it. They know it. The security guard watching knows it, and there's no train waiting to rescue you. No BTS to carry you away in climate-controlled silence. You're sitting in traffic before you've even left airport property. Already sweating, already questioning your choices. If we're talking about first impressions alone, Thailand wins. That's not even debatable. But here's where it gets complicated. That efficiency, that friction-free experience everyone raves about, it comes with a trade-off that nobody mentions until they've spent enough time there to feel it. Bangkok runs smoothly because it's controlled. Everything has its designated place. Everyone has their role. There's order, but order demands rules. And rules mean you don't always get to operate on your own terms. You follow the system. You move when you're supposed to move. You stop when you're told to stop. The Philippines, complete disorder, but it's your disorder. Nobody's directing traffic in your daily life. You negotiate, you improvise, you adapt on the fly. And sometimes that messy freedom is worth more than the frustration it creates. I'm not declaring one superior to the other, I'm saying they're built for completely different outcomes. And which one serves you better depends entirely on what you value more, smooth efficiency or personal autonomy. Now let's address the thing everyone points to when declaring Thailand the winner. Infrastructure. Because on paper, this isn't even close. Thailand's infrastructure operates on a different level entirely. The roads are paved, maintained. You can drive from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, and the highway stays smooth the entire journey. In the Philippines, you encounter potholes deep enough to damage your suspension. Roads transform into rivers when it rains. Bridges sit half-constructed for years because the funding evaporated somewhere between announcement and completion. Public transportation, Thailand has the BTS, the MRT, bus networks that follow schedules. Manila gives you jeepneys that halt wherever the driver feels like stopping, tricycles that charge based on their mood, and traffic that makes you reconsider every decision that led you to this moment. Power? In Thailand, the electricity stays on. In the Philippines, brownouts are scheduled into your expectations. Your internet drops. Your video call freezes. You develop backup plans for your backup plans. One commenter on my last video put it perfectly. The traffic alone is enough for me. I definitely couldn't survive the Philippines long term. And here's something that doesn't get discussed enough. Weather. The Philippines sits directly in the Pacific Typhoon Corridor. We're talking 20 to 25 tropical storms hitting the country every single year, with multiple Category 4 or 5 monsters among them. That's not an occasional inconvenience, that's a lifestyle factor. Flights cancelled without warning. Islands cut off for days. Power infrastructure that was already unreliable getting knocked out completely. Property damage that expats learn to budget for. Thailand? Geographically protected. The Indochina Peninsula shields it from most severe storms. You might get heavy monsoon rains, sure, but you're not tracking weather systems wondering if you need to evacuate your province next week. So if infrastructure stability is your priority, Thailand is the obvious choice. Book the flight. You'll have fewer headaches there. But let me share something I noticed after experiencing both places that most people don't acknowledge because it's not as measurable as a pothole or a power outage. In Thailand, everything functions, which is comfortable until you realize that means everything becomes standardized, predictable, sanitized. You walk into a mall, it's identical to malls anywhere else on Earth. You eat at restaurants optimized for tourist expectations. Even the street food scene has been polished, packaged, made safe for Western nervous systems. The Philippines hasn't figured out that kind of curation yet. And maybe that's not entirely a disadvantage, because in the chaos you stumble into authentic life. You eat at a carinderia where the food comes from someone's family recipe, passed down 3 generations. You end up in a barangay where foreign faces are genuinely rare. You meet people who aren't performing hospitality, they're just existing. Is it maddening sometimes? Without question. The roads fall apart. The power vanishes. Nothing operates on schedule. But there's an unfiltered quality to it. A realness. Thailand exchanged that for reliability, and depending on who you are, that exchange might feel like a loss. Here's something that might genuinely surprise you. The Philippines isn't the budget destination anymore. Everyone still operates on this assumption that the Philippines is some affordable paradise. Cheap rent, cheap food, cheap everything. That was true once. That reality has shifted. Manila hotel rates match Bangkok rates, sometimes exceed them. I compared prices. A decent room in Makati costs the same as a decent room in Sukhumvit. Cebu is climbing fast. Even provincial areas charge more than they deliver. Food? Street food remains cheap, yes, but restaurant dining in the Philippines means Bangkok prices without Bangkok execution. I've paid for meals in Manila that cost what I'd pay in Thailand, but arrived worse and came with service that made me feel like an interruption. And domestic flights. This one genuinely shocked me. Flying from Manila to Palawan cost more than flying from Bangkok to Bali. Process that. You pay more to explore your own country than to leave it entirely. So this notion that the Philippines is the budget-conscious option, that's operating on outdated information. When you factor in quality per peso, Thailand might actually be more economical. But here's where the Philippines maintains a genuine edge. Visa flexibility. Thailand's long-term visa situation creates constant anxiety. Visa runs every few months. Flying to a neighboring country, turning around, coming back, it's expensive. It's exhausting, and if you miscalculate, if you get the wrong stamp or overstay by a single day, you're banned. Thai immigration doesn't negotiate. The Philippines, you can extend a tourist visa for up to 3 years. The process involves bureaucracy, waiting, forms that seem designed to test your patience, but they let you do it. They're not actively trying to remove you. There's this underlying attitude of do what you want as long as you're not causing problems. That breathing room matters, especially if you're someone who values flexibility over being locked into marriage visas or retirement requirements. You just want to exist without constantly justifying your presence. Thailand makes you feel like a visitor who could be asked to leave whenever they decide you've stayed long enough. The Philippines makes you feel like you've been absorbed into the dysfunction, and for certain people that second feeling is actually more comfortable. Alright? Let's address the uncomfortable truth that everyone thinks but hesitates to say directly. The Philippines has a scam problem. I'm not going to soften this. I've collected too many stories. I've witnessed it personally. My comment section overflows with people sharing what happened to them. The taxi driver who locks the doors and demands 3 times the fare before releasing you. The traffic enforcer who invents a violation and requests a contribution. The relationship that evaporates the moment funding stops. It's a pattern. And it's not isolated individuals making poor choices. It's systemic. Because when corruption flows from the top downward, when survival is the daily calculation, when there's no functional safety net, people adapt to what works. Does that excuse it? No. Does it explain it completely? Now, Thailand has scams too. Every tourist destination does. But the nature of Thai scams feels different. They're transactional, transparent in their own way. You understand the tuk-tuk driver has a side deal with his cousin's jewelry shop. You recognize the massage place is overcharging. You notice the bar added drinks you didn't order. It's anticipated. You negotiate. You adjust. You continue. In the Philippines, it cuts deeper. Because everyone speaks English. Because the culture radiates warmth and openness. You believe you're forming genuine connections. And sometimes you absolutely are. Filipino hospitality isn't performance. But sometimes you're being evaluated. And you can't distinguish which is which until you've already lost something. That uncertainty is what breaks people down over time. In Thailand, the rules of engagement are understood. In the Philippines, you're never certain if there's a game being played or not. But I need to be absolutely clear about something. This isn't about Filipino people being dishonest by nature. This is about a system that has failed its population so catastrophically that exploitation becomes a survival strategy. When your government treats you as a resource to extract from, when institutions exist to serve themselves, when the people meant to protect you are the ones demanding payment, what alternative exists? The real tragedy isn't that some Filipinos scam foreigners. The deeper tragedy is that Filipinos scam each other. Because that's what the environment has normalized. That's what generations of institutional betrayal has taught. Thailand has corruption too. Make no mistake, but it's structured, predictable. The corruption operates at governmental levels, not embedded in every random interaction. You're less likely to be hustled by an ordinary Thai person because there's sufficient societal stability that pure survival mode isn't the default setting. So if trust matters to you, if you want to relax your defenses occasionally, Thailand probably feels safer. But if you want authenticity, even complicated authenticity, the Philippines still offers that. You just need to be intelligent about navigating it. Let me describe what actual daily existence looks like in both places. Because this is where vacation impressions separate from living reality. This is where you actually spend your time, not just your holidays. In Thailand, daily life flows. You need something, you acquire it. You visit 7-Eleven, they stock it. You go to the pharmacy, they have it. You need paperwork processed, you visit the office, they handle it. Fast, functional, minimal drama. In the Philippines, nothing is guaranteed. You go to the grocery store for 3 specific items. First one is unavailable, second one is unavailable, third one hasn't been restocked in a week. You leave empty-handed. You visit a government office for documentation. Come back tomorrow, sir. You return tomorrow. Come back next week, sir. You return next week. Different office handles that, sir. It's depleting, but here's what unfolds gradually in Thailand. Life becomes sterile. Everything operates, but nothing catches you off guard. You settle into repetition. Coffee at the familiar spot, lunch at the regular place, exercise, home, repeat. Bangkok facilitates that perfectly. It's efficient, but it's also somewhat hollow. The Philippines forces you out of patterns. Not because you choose it, but because nothing proceeds as planned. Your internet fails, so you end up working from a random cafe. You meet someone there. They invite you to their cousin's celebration in a province you've never heard of. Suddenly you're in a barangay that sees maybe 3 foreigners a year, eating dishes you can't identify, singing karaoke until 2 a.m, with strangers who now feel like family. Is it annoying that your internet failed? Obviously. But did you just collect an experience you'll carry for years? Also yes, that's the exchange. Thailand optimizes for comfort, the Philippines optimizes for unpredictability, and chaos counterintuitively generates stories. Now I need to discuss something harder to measure, but essential to understanding these countries honestly. The Philippines will affect you emotionally in ways Thailand simply won't. You're having dinner at a decent restaurant in Makati. Through the window there's a child, maybe 6 years old, no shoes, clothes that haven't been washed in days, just watching you eat. Not demanding, not aggressive, just observing. And you understand she's hungry, you understand her family is struggling, you understand that what you're casually consuming would sustain her for a week. What do? You give her money, 5 more children materialize, then 10. You stop giving, now guilt consumes you, you continue giving, now you're surrounded and can't exit. This is ordinary life in the Philippines. The poverty isn't hidden in peripheral neighborhoods, it's everywhere, inescapable. Children sleeping on concrete near bridges at night, elderly women extending hands, while officials pass in vehicles that cost more than those women will earn in a lifetime. Dogs chained under brutal sun, ribs visible, ignored. If you possess any capacity for empathy, it erodes you. Thailand has poverty too. Rural communities, border regions. But it's managed. Invisible unless you specifically seek it. Bangkok presents clean, organized. The struggling populations are directed elsewhere. You can enjoy your rooftop cocktail and never contemplate it. In the Philippines, you cannot escape it. It's present, constant. And that persistent exposure transforms something inside you. Some people develop numbness, they learn to look past it, they construct mental barriers, they rationalize, and I can't solve this, I'm not responsible for fixing a country. Others can't manage it, the weight follows them everywhere. They leave because they cannot reconcile enjoying themselves while knowing what's happening just beyond the resort boundaries. This is the dimension nobody addresses when comparing these countries. It's not merely infrastructure or expenses or convenience. It's whether you can sustain the emotional burden of proximity to systemic suffering. While living comfortably yourself, Thailand permits you to ignore it, the Philippines refuses to let you. And I'm not claiming one approach is morally superior. I'm saying you need sufficient self-awareness to understand which you can live alongside. Let me explain something that required time for me to fully understand. The concept of freedom. Thailand is more developed, more organized, more efficient, but it's also more controlled. Rules exist everywhere. Some official, some understood, without being stated. You don't criticize the monarchy, you don't create disturbances, you don't generate problems. If you do, deportation follows. Thai immigration doesn't care about your history there or your economic contribution. You violate the structure, you're removed. The Philippines? It operates like territory without a sheriff. Rules exist on paper. Enforcement is theoretical. Or selective. Inconsistent. You can get away with things that would be impossible elsewhere. Sometimes excessively so. I've spoken with expats who specifically chose the Philippines because it's among the last places where you can exist, without perpetual monitoring, without bureaucratic oversight tracking your every transaction, without the government cataloguing your movements. You want to construct something without navigating permit bureaucracy? People do it. You want to operate a business without formal registration? People do it. You want to genuinely disconnect from systems? You actually can. In Thailand, that's fantasy. Everything gets registered, everything gets tracked. You deviate from expectations, you're flagged. Now, some people hear this and think, perfect, I can do anything in the Philippines. Technically accurate, but that freedom carries consequences. Because if you can operate without accountability, so can everyone else. That's why scams flourish. That's why corruption is endemic. That's why infrastructure deteriorates, because enforcement doesn't exist. Accountability is absent. Thailand surrendered freedom for order. The Philippines maintained freedom and inherited chaos. Which serves you better? That depends on your fundamental values. If you prefer structure, if you want clearly defined rules you can navigate, Thailand suits you. If you prefer autonomy, if you want to make your own choices even when those choices are questionable, the Philippines might align better with your nature. Let's discuss the people directly, because this is where perspectives diverge dramatically. Filipinos are warm, genuinely friendly, hospitable in ways that feel authentic. That's not tourism marketing, it's observable reality. You walk through a neighborhood, people greet you. You get invited to gatherings, to meals, to family events. There's an openness that's hard to manufacture. But there's another dimension. Filipinos are operating in survival conditions. Decades of poverty and institutional failure have created an environment where, for many, relationships carry transactional elements. Not universally, not everyone, but frequently enough that you notice patterns. You're not simply dating an individual, you're entering an ecosystem. An entire extended network. And that network has requirements, medical expenses, educational costs, debts accumulated before you existed in their lives. And there's this cultural framework of support. Utang na loob, debt of gratitude. You help me, I'm obligated to you, indefinitely. For Western expats, accustomed to independence, this can feel overwhelming. You believed you were building a partnership. You discover you're funding a community. Thais present differently, more reserved, polite but boundaried. There's formality, distance. You can reside in Thailand for years and never develop deep connections with Thai people. You'll have acquaintances, certainly. But profound relationships? Uncommon. And in tourist zones, in entertainment areas, in the spaces designed for foreign visitors, relationships are explicitly transactional. Everyone recognizes it. Everyone accepts the terms. No illusions involved. Some expats prefer that clarity. At least you understand the arrangement. In the Philippines, certainty is elusive. Is this person authentic, or are they calculating your utility? Here's my perspective. Filipinos will welcome you into their lives. They'll treat you as belonging. But belonging comes with obligations. Thais will be courteous and respectful, but they'll maintain their distance. Neither approach is objectively superior, just different. And which resonates with you depends on whether you want depth with its complications, or surface-level peace without entanglement. After everything I've experienced, after every conversation I've had, after processing thousands of comments, here's my conclusion. Thailand is not better. The Philippines is not better. They're optimized for entirely different types of people. Thailand is better if you want functionality. If you value efficiency, cleanliness, working infrastructure, predictability, and safety. If you want to relax without constantly problem-solving your environment. If surface-level cultural engagement is sufficient for your needs. The Philippines is better if you're willing to exchange comfort for authenticity. If freedom matters more than order. If you want to feel genuinely alive, even if that means frustration occupies half your emotional bandwidth. If you want real connections, even when those connections come with complexity, there's no universal answer. There's only your answer. But here's what I will say. The Philippines is squandering its potential, and that's the genuine tragedy. The country possesses everything required to compete with Thailand. maybe surpass it. An English-speaking population, natural beauty that objectively exceeds Thailand's offerings, strategic positioning, a people who are innately hospitable and entrepreneurial, but the corruption consumes everything. The infrastructure crumbles and nothing gets rebuilt. The systems fail and nobody implements solutions. And instead of addressing it, leadership allows continued decay while foreign visitors quietly stop returning. Thailand examined its advantages and constructed something functional. Imperfect, but functional. The Philippines perpetually waits for someone else to solve its problems. And that's why expats are relocating. That's why tourism numbers decline. Not because the beaches lost their beauty, but because beauty alone doesn't compensate when nothing else operates. So here's my challenge to you. If you're contemplating a move to Southeast Asia, visit both. Invest real time in both, not a vacation. Actually establish temporary routes. Work there. Handle daily logistics. Experience the frustrations. Experience the unexpected rewards. And then determine which frustrations you can sustain. Because both countries will frustrate you, just through different mechanisms. Drop a comment and tell me your experience. Have you lived in both? Which did you and will continue to choose? And why? I want genuine long-term perspectives, along with those with 2-week tourist impressions. And if you want me to break down Vietnam, Malaysia or Cambodia next, let me know. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Share this with someone who's weighing this decision. They deserve the complete picture, not just the highlight reel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.